all about the process. Howdy, 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 howdy. Well, I'm going to do this video today, and I am going to talk about my process. Those are my 9 new paintings. I think they're getting close to being done. It's nice to see them all together, because then I can kind of see what's working and what's not working, what needs to carry through, and what's done. So it's great to see them all together like that. 9 new paintings. Feels good. Feels really good. But they're not complete. You know what? I don't think they'll ever be complete. That's right. I don't think they'll ever be complete. And this is the reason why. Because, you see, to me, it's all about the process. It's all about the process, the painting process. And the painting process never stops. The piece, like these ones back here, they might be completed in my mind, you know? I shouldn't say that, not completed. They might be at a resting state. I might have brought them along as far as I can in this moment in time, and they might just need to rest and just be. And then maybe sometime later I'll come back to them, or maybe I'll let them go. Because you see, when I sell a painting, it moves on. It's not complete, it moves on and it continues, because the painting is more than just this piece of work. It's more than just this. The painting is in here, the painting is in here. So when you see a painting, you begin to interact with it, and it begins to shape you, and you begin to shape it. I had this lady come, and she'd seen this painting I've done, and I was at a show, and I'd shown it at a couple of different shows, and she'd come through and she'd seen it a couple of different times, and then she wanted to buy it. So she calls me up, she's like, hey, do you still have that painting? I'm like, I just happen to have it still. I'm like, yeah, I still have it. She's like, well, I'm really interested in it. I'd like to purchase it. I'm like, okay. Next time you're in town, I'll meet you and I'll bring it out and you can take a look at it. So I get it all wrapped up, and stuff. She comes by and I show it to her, and she's like, is that the one? Is that the one? Because see, the way she'd remembered it was different than what it actually was, because it reminded her of her sister, and she wanted that remembrance in her house. The colors, the shape, and everything, it reminded her of her sister, but it had changed in her mind, the painting. So then she's like, okay, is this I'm like, yeah, this is the one we were talking about. It's the only one that I have that's similar to this or like this. You can't confuse it with a different one. So she's like, okay, well, it's perfect, it's great, I love it. She bought it, she took it home, and she's hung it in a couple different rooms in her house. So she found the place it fit in her house, and now it's part of her, and that painting is living with her in her home and in her mind, and that painting is continuing to develop and to grow. And you're like, wait a minute, people are still marking on it? No. The marking is incidental. The marking is separate than the whole painting process begins. For me, anytime I paint a piece, there's so much that goes into it that is part of who I am, that I picked up over my whole life, that I'm putting out onto that. It's ideas, it's thoughts that began with other people, maybe something I learned from a teacher or read in a book or saw in the movies, or, that began with somebody else, and it's coming through me into this piece, and then that piece is going on and sparking memories in others, sparking conversation in others, and that piece is continuing to develop and grow. Their memories of it, how it influences them, the thoughts they have, and then if that person that bought my painting releases it and lets it go to somebody else, it continues to develop and grow. And eventually that painting, it's going to influence everybody that comes into contact with it in some way, maybe very remote, maybe very small, but maybe very big as well. And it's going to influence all those people, and that's what it's about. That's really what it's about. And so it's that whole process. So these paintings, they will be with me for a time. I will direct them, I will influence them, I will work with them to bring them into reality, and then I'll let them go. They'll get to a point where they're done with me, and they're like, we are ready to move on to somebody else, and that somebody else needs to come in and pick them up, because they're essential in their life for the next part of that person's life as well. And I truly believe that. And so for me, it's all about the process. Sometimes I'll have a conceptual idea, or I'll have an intuitive idea that I want to try to capture, and I'll move along with that. But for me, it's really being in the moment with the paint. It's being being intuitive with the paint, being part of the painting process. I'm just an instrument sometimes, just creating things that come along and change, that come along and they influence me, they influence others. And it's a very interesting dynamic that occurs, you know, and sometimes a painting will stall out and it'll just have to sit there for a while until I've changed, and then I can come back to it and see what needs to happen with that painting, and then it can be released as well. So for me, it's really about the process. It's not about the finished part, or the finished product, the finished. I'm not manufacturing. I'm not mass producing. I'm not trying to create this perfect thing that I'm gonna then release and sell. Like, oh, this is worth $1 million because it's a perfect painting. No, it's worth. The value comes from. The value comes from, well, my time, of course. You know, my time is valuable, so it comes from my time, but it comes from the painting's influence over the people around them. So paintings that just resonate with society, just resonate with people, they hold value. Paintings that miss the mark now, maybe they will find somebody in time, but you know, they hold less value. But those other paintings, you know, maybe they'll end up in a Goodwill or a thrift store, an antique store, and then somebody will come along later and rediscover it and rediscover that value. And even if nobody comes along and discovers that value, that painting is still going through a process. It's going through a process of decay. Those atoms are slowly coming off that painting and going back out into existence and becoming part of something else. And so that painting is still continuing on in existence, in reality, but dispersed. And that's an interesting thought as well. All of us are intertwined with our atomic structures. All of us are intertwined in this existence, this reality that we all have, right? And so there might be part of you in one of my paintings. You know, maybe a decade ago, some atoms came off of you that then got transported over into a factory, which then became part of the paint, which then now is on that canvas right there. So we're all intertwined, we're all interconnected, and we're all in this process together, right? And to try to take a static snapshot and say, boom, this is perfection. That doesn't work. Or to say this is reality, you know, and to say this is the absolute, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, you know. Not that we need to have all this moral ambiguity or anything like that. You know, we can have a stance that we take. We can have things we believe in firmly, but that's not the end all be all. You know, it's a process. We're continuing to develop. We're continuing to grow as people, as a society, as an artist. You know, I mean, the stuff I'm doing today is not the same stuff I was doing a decade ago, and it's not going to be the same stuff I'm doing in a decade from now. And anybody who gets into that static framework, into that static mindset, they get solidified and they get, you know, they grind to a halt. And that's not good for anybody. That's not good for anybody. You've got to continue to develop and to grow and to mature and to change over time, just like these paintings, you know? And maybe this painting right here, maybe in 50 years from now, 100 years from now, a little bit will begin to flake off. It's going to be a completely different painting when that happens. That's part of the process. That's part of the process, you know? So for me, it's really all about the process. And when I'm really, really in tune with the process, when I've really done my work up here and in here to paint, then I really get into the painting and I really feel it and I really commune with it, and it becomes a transcendental thing. It becomes a meditative moment. It becomes Zen, you know, and just I move into that painting and it just takes over, and I find this sense of peace, and I find this sense of presence, and I find this sense of this is who I am and where I belong, and this is where I want to stay, you know. And that's why I continue to paint, you know. Even the days where I can't get in my studio, I'll find something else to do that has that same spirit, that same creativity. So I'm gonna show you this new painting. It's called Process, and it's gonna be at the beginning of a new piece, and you'll just be able to see some of my process as I go through it. So enjoy the rest of this painting, and the rest of it's gonna be all painting, okay? So this one, process. My process, my painting process. I've gone over this a few times in bits and pieces, but for me, it's really about the process. It's about getting into the piece, about feeling the paint, about really being connected with it. So this one, I've been thinking about, I wanted to do black, and I got this cheap pink paint and some yellow paint. I kind of want to just do a first layer, which get some paint out here. And I usually start these with the pour paint because I like to lose control of the piece. I like to let the piece do what the piece wants to do. I do. I like using this stiff brush. See how stiff it is? How wiggly it is? I like that because it leaves a lot of texture. See, it leaves a lot of texture. And I like that kind of texture on this. And that's what I'm going for on this first piece here. Lots of texture. But I don't want to do just straight up black. What I also want to do is I want to bring out some of that depth in that painting. And I'm going to do that by adding a few other colors. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of blue. And a little bit of purple. And I think a little bit of red. Ooh, that's a little orange. That's good though. See, now what that does is it adds some variation in that, and the black can become so monotonous, you know? So I'm just gonna throw this around. I'm gonna leave a lot of this. I'm gonna try to leave a lot of this forming here. I really like that. And when I do the pour over it, it really gives the painting a lot to think about, a lot to do, you know. And you gotta keep that paint entertained. It's sitting around in a bottle for who knows how long. This stuff has been sitting around less than this stuff, and so this stuff is going, hey, use me, man. That's what I've been designed to do. Throw me out there. Get me in the game, coach. Try to hit all my edges right now. Get all this worked out. So you can see there's some of that red and some of that blue, some of that purple showing through. And the eye will catch that. The eye will bring it out as you're looking at the piece. And the longer you stare at the piece, the more you're going to see. And that's going to add depth. And it's going to add a lot of character to the piece. And this piece is not flat. When you think about painting, most of painting is all illusion. Painting is all illusion, you know? Even people who do photorealism, you know, they're trying to deceive the eye. They're trying to trick you into seeing stuff. It's a flat plane, but they're trying to make it look three-dimensional. It's not a model. It's not real life. It's a flat plane, and they do a great job of making it look that way. Ugh. I don't know about this paint here. Oh, this is gonna be pretty pink. Pretty pink. We're gonna put a little over here, a little down here. There we go. We're gonna use a little of this yellow too. See how that looks. Yeah, there we go. That's gonna look great. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get this to, again, another nice stiff brush. And I think I'm gonna do it this way. There we go. I don't wanna bury these pinks. You know, at this point I can overbrush this so easily, and then all of a sudden we won't end up with any pink showing through. That's kind of what I'm trying to avoid here. Let's carry it around the corners there. Now let's do the same with the yellow. But I think, try to pull it out a little bit more like this. See, and I don't come into this with some kind of master plan. I'm not working off a photo or off of a still life or anything like that. I'm just coming into the piece and trying to feel it, trying to understand it, trying to, you know, I had some ideas of what I was hoping to accomplish, but the painting is gonna say, no, sorry, Bob, not today. Not on my watch, that's not what we're doing. Okay, got those out of the way. Now, see, there's lots of texture here. There's lots of depth. So when I do my pour over it, it's going to get caught and stopped. And it's going to get kind of broken up. And that's going to be awesome. Now, I can either do little splots, or I can do streaks or lines, or lots of different things I can do. And I picked out some nice colors here. I got just a little gold, a little pink, a couple different yellows, a magenta, purple, some green, some blues. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go for it. I'm trying to feel the color I want. You gotta feel it. You gotta just like, oh, I feel it. That's the color. It attracts you and it pulls you in. See, look at that. These two are like, let's go, let's go. What are we waiting for? So let's do it. What are we waiting for? There we go. See, nice dynamic coloring, nice dynamic shape. We're gonna throw this. These guys were like, we're ready. Get us in there. We're ready now. Yeah, try to avoid stuff like that, but I think this is going to work out good. I'm going to do a little bit of this over it, come back this way. Yeah, I like that, I like that. It's looking good, huh? Add a little bit more this way, and I think we can tie some of these yellows in. Lots of interesting colors here, huh? Let's get some of this darker yellow in here. Alright. Let's slow it down a little bit. Take a look. I gotta change angles here a little bit. I really like this blue and pink together. That's such a nice color. Alright, got a lot of activity going on here. A lot of motion, a lot of color choice. I think I want to come back and revisit this blue and pink a little bit more. But I want to go ahead and do a little bit of shaping now. When you use one of these guys, typically I'll use a big guy like this, even a big guy like this, and I can do big swaths, you know. Sometimes I'll use this guy. But I think I'm going to use this one since I have so many different colors, and I'm going to try to keep them separated a little bit, but since this is black, it's easy to pick up that wet black down there, so you got to have a little bit of a soft touch here. Otherwise you just end up with a big black muddy mess. painting's gonna do what the painting wants to do. And you're like, but you're the artist. You have control over it. I have some control over it. You know, but sometimes, no matter how much control you think you have over life, life's got its own way. Life, it has its own way, right? Isn't that what, pull it through this way. Alright, so, I do like this. Okay, so I'm going to look at it for a minute. It seems off balance to me. I think with that black behind it, it really draws it down so much, you know, and kind of flattens it out. And even with all these little sparkles of different motion, different movements, it seems like it's kind of sucking the painting down. I need to bring it up. I think that's probably going to happen in the after party here. It's going to happen in future future coming to the painting and waiting on the painting to reveal itself, and then me coming in and helping to speak to it. And I like the way this is going, but I do want to do some more of this blue and pink. This blue, wasn't it? Or was it this blue? Life has its own way. Life has its own way. And if you try to stand in the way of life, you know, it takes a lot. Because life is going to just keep on coming. And you can either go with it, try to understand it, and get more out of it, or you can try to stand against it and force life the way you want to go. And you do that, and you have a battle on your hands. Yes, you do. It's typically when you start to actually listen to life that you get the most out of life. It's like when you start listening to a painting, you're going to get the most out of the painting. Alright. See this other blue? I like that light blue in there. I'm going to do some of that with this one too. I don't think I'm going to mix this one in. I'm going to just let it sit and do its own thing. It's going to blend in over time, and I like that. I really like that a lot. I think I'm going to do some down here. I got this gold. I'm going to do some little gold. A little gold highlighting in here. Next to this one. Maybe a little bit up here too. Oh, I'm running out of it. It's going to do its own thing. That yellow up there, look, it looks like a little honeybee forming up there, huh? Same down here. So now I'm going to wait for this to dry. It's going to sit for a while. And then I'm going to come through and start working it over again. And when I work it over, I'm going to probably not do pour painting. I'm going to probably start doing spraying. And I'm going to start doing some just touch-up that I like. Changing the composition some, adding elements, taking elements away. Ooh, so pretty. Just so gorgeous. Thanks for joining me in this process. I'm going to keep doing more videos on this piece as part of my process, and helping to understand what it means to get into the process of painting. There's so much to it. There's so much to it. Thank you for joining me.